All right, what do you think about that one? And that's part of what I'm so fascinated about this whole futuristic CIMEC thing. If we could learn to adopt a rubber arm, could we teach our minds to adopt a mechanical arm? Ooh, oh my!
Isn't that what they already do with the prosthesis that you control with your brain?
I don't know. Is that what's
Well,
happening?
it's neural. You're forming connections with the brain to control, and it's just like a kid when he gets a growth spurt and his brain has to relearn how long his arm is so he doesn't hurt himself. It's the same kind of process of learning to control the prosthetic hand.
I just think that's so fascinating. Okay, this next video is kind of a bridge video. Uh, if you want to watch the whole thing, I sent it to Dr. Tracy, but we'll just watch a couple minutes. I just want you to see if you're not familiar with Ken Wilber. Um, he's an interesting combination of someone who's from the West, but he has been a practitioner of different Eastern meditation techniques for most of his life. And he has got to a level where he can actually control his different brain waves. And he's also like a scientist. So he's not just like some Eastern mystic guru. He's like this bridge between the West, and he wants to demonstrate in ways that can be measured and evaluated. And so in this video, I'm going to show you, he hooks up a EKG machine to his head, and then he puts himself through different meditative states. And you can actually watch the EKG machine change with his thoughts. And so here we go.
Hello, everybody. This is a small portable EEG electroencephalograph. What it shows is brainwave activity, basically. It's a very simple but fairly accurate machine. It's an early mind mirror machine. The panel itself is divided into a left and right hand panel. The left hand panel basically measures electrical activity in the left hemisphere of the brain, and the right hand panel measures electrical activity in the right hemisphere. What you're seeing from the top to the bottom is beta activity, then alpha activity, then theta activity in the bottom two bar.
And this is really interesting. So while even though he's talking over this video, because he is using more analytic stuff setting up the machine, you see that activity taking place on the left hand side, right, where this side is almost completely shut down.
Bars represent delta activity. So what's showing is activity in the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere through a whole range of beta to alpha to theta to delta waves, brain waves. You can see that in the left-hand panel, representing the left hemisphere, which would be analytic thinking, logic, more abstract thinking, there's a lot of activity, particularly in the beta and alpha, that's the upper reaches of the panel, because I've basically been assembling this unit. In the right-hand panel, there's less because the activity I've been engaged in is much more linear, abstract, logical, and so on. Traditionally, what we see in waking state is a lot of beta activity if there's thinking, and alpha activity is a more relaxed, alert state. Theta waves, which begin about halfway down the panel here, and which is very little theta showing right here, because theta waves usually appear only in states of sleep with dreaming, and occasionally states of certain types of meditation and states of certain types of creativity and reverie. And in the bottom two bars here represent delta. You usually see delta waves only in deep dreamless sleep. Now, there's a lot of delta activity. Traditionally, you show delta wave patterns in the waking state only if you have a brain tumor or only with certain types of eye movement, neither of which are happening in this case. So delta is probably indicative of some other activities, including a constant state of witnessing, which we'll talk about that in a moment. So what I'm going to do is basically go into a series of meditative states here. And the first state that I'm going to try to enter is a type of nirvikalpa samadhi. It's not a classic nirvikalpa, but I'm going to try to basically suspend all mental activity with the exception of that witnessing delta state. So what you should see if this works is virtually all of those lights should go to 0. I'll pause it here for a moment.
All right. When I first saw that, I was just blown away. I mean, I had read accounts of yogis being able to slow their metabolism, go almost into like a hibernation state. But to actually watch on a machine, this guy had such a control over his mind or his thoughts that he could actually control the waves. I thought that that was amazing. And I think it's probably much more difficult than it looked. I mean, remember, this guy has been a practitioner of different meditation for over 20 years. So this is an expert. Go ahead, Gary.
I was just gonna say I wish that I could do what he just did at nighttime, get some better sleep.
Yeah. And when he talked about those bottom two, the delta, and how normally they're supposed to be inactive unless you're in deep sleep, I think that's a result of his meditation. He talked about a constant witness. I think he is always in this state of present awareness, is how he's trained his mind. And so that's like maxed out all the time, regardless what he's doing. But he can take the rest of his brain and calm it or expand it depending on what he's doing or what he's pursuing. And I just think that's fantastic. And the reason I wanted to show you that, I thought it was a nice bridge from all this physical materialistic stuff we've been talking about the physical brain and the different functions. And we didn't even get into all the chemical reactions and all of that, which is going to have a huge impact. But many of you had asked to talk a little bit about some of the Eastern meditation techniques and things of that nature. And so I have a little sampler for you, and I'll move quickly because the evening's getting away from us.